Hello again. My name is April Whitty and I'm coming to you from Albury, Australia. I am delighted to be back reading 2 chapters from our final book, Anne of Windy Willows. I am delighted to be able to do this, and Andrew Mackenzie has created a wonderful readathon that we've all thoroughly enjoyed over the last couple of years. I am going to be reading the 3rd year, and I will be starting with chapter 5. I just wanted to point out though, I am wearing, just quickly, since this is my last reading for this, I'm wearing my I Love Gilbert Blythe, you can't see the Blythe, but I Love Gilbert Blythe t-shirt. So I thought it was serendipitous to put it on for my final 2 readings for contentiously one of my top 3 favourite Anne books. So here we go, chapter 5 and chapter 6 from the 3rd year. Chapter 5. Extract from a letter to Gilbert. Mrs. Raymond came down last night and, with tears in her eyes, begged me to forgive her for her hasty behaviour. If you knew a mother's heart, Miss Shirley, you would not find it hard to forgive. I didn't find it hard to forgive as it was. There is really something about Mrs. Raymond I can't help liking, and she was a duck about the dramatic club. Just the same, I did not say, and any Saturday you want to be away, I'll look after your offspring. One learns by experience, even a person so incorrigibly optimistic and trustful as myself. I find that a certain section of Summerside society is at present very much exercised over the loves of Jarvis Morrow and Dovey Westcott, who, as Rebecca Dew says, have been engaged for over a year, but can't get any forerunner. Aunt Kate, who is a distant aunt of Dovey's to be exact, I think she's the aunt of a second cousin of Dovey's on the mother's side, is deeply interested in the affair, because she thinks Jarvis is such an excellent match for Dovey, and also, I suspect, because she hates Franklin Westcott and would like to see him routed horse, foot, and artillery. Not that Aunt Kate would admit she hated anybody, but Mrs. Franklin Westcott was a very dear girlhood friend of hers, and Aunt Kate solemnly avers that he murdered her. I am interested in it partly because I'm very fond of Jarvis and moderately fond of Dovey, and partly I begin to suspect because I am an inveterate meddler in other people's business, always with excellent intentions, of course. The situation is briefly this. Franklin Westcott is a tall, sombre, hard-bitten merchant, close and unsociable. He lives in a big old-fashioned house called Elmcroft, just outside the town on the Upper Harbour Road. I have met him once or twice, but really know very little about him, except that he has an uncanny habit of saying something and then going off into a long chuckle of soundless laughter. He has never gone to church since hymns came in, and he insists on having all his windows open even in winter storms. I confess to a sneaking sympathy with him in this, but I am probably the only person in Summerside who would. He has got into the habit of being a leading citizen, and nothing municipal dares to be done without his approval. His wife is dead. It is common report that she was a slave, unable to call her soul her own. Franklin told her, it is said, when he brought her home, that he would be master. Dovey, whose real name is Sybil, is his only child, a very pretty, plump, lovable girl of 19, with a red mouth, always falling a little open over her small white teeth, glints of chestnut in her brown hair, alluring blue eyes, and sooty lashes so long you wonder if they can be real. Jen Pringle says it is her eyes Jarvis is really in love with. Jen and I have actually talked the affair over. Jarvis is her favourite cousin. In passing, you wouldn't believe how fond Jen is of me, and I of Jen. She's really the cutest thing. Franklin Westcott has never allowed Dovey to have any beau, and when Jarvis Morrow began to pay her attention, he forbade him from the house, and told Dovey there was to be no more running around with that fellow. But the mischief had been done. Dovey and Jarvis were already fathoms deep in love. Everybody in town is in sympathy with the lovers. Franklin Westcott is really unreasonable. Jarvis is a successful young lawyer of good family with good prospects and a very nice, decent lad in himself. Nothing could be more suitable, declares Rebecca Dew. Jarvis Morrow could have any girl he wanted in Summerside. Franklin Westcott has just made up his mind that Dovey is to be an old maid. He wants to be sure of a housekeeper when Aunt Maggie dies. Isn't there anyone who has any influence with him? I asked. Nobody can argue with Franklin Westcott. He's too sarcastical, and if you get the better of him, he throws a tantrum. I've never seen him in one of his tantrums, but I've heard Miss Prouty describe how he acted one time she was there sewing. He got mad over something, nobody knew what. He just grabbed everything in sight and flung it out of the window. Milton's poems went flying clean over the fence into George Clark's lily pond. He's always kind of had a grudge at life. Miss Prouty says her mother told her that the yelps of him when he was born passed anything she ever heard. I suppose God has some reason for making men like that, but you'd wonder. No, I can't see any chance for Jarvis and Dovey unless they elope. It's a kind of low-down thing to do, though there's been a terrible lot of romantic nonsense talked about eloping, but this is a case where anybody would excuse it. I don't know what to do, but I must do something. I simply can't sit still and see people make a mess of their lives under my very nose, no matter how many tantrums Franklin Westcott takes. Jarvis Morrow is not going to wait forever. Rumour has it that he is getting out of patience already and has been seen savagely digging Dovey's name out of a tree on which he had cut it. There is an attractive Palmer girl who is reported to be throwing herself at his head, and his sister is said to have said that his mother has said that her son has no need to dangle for years at any girl's apron string. Really, Gilbert, I'm quite unhappy about it. It's moonlight tonight, beloved. Moonlight on the willows of the yard. Moonlight dimples all over the harbour, where a phantom ship is drifting outward. Moonlight on the old graveyard, on my own private valley on the Storm King. And it will be moonlight in Lover's Lane, and on the Lake of Shining Waters, and the old haunted wood, and Violet Vale. There should be fairy dances on the hills tonight. But Gilbert, dear, moonlight with no one to share it is just moonshine. I wish I could take little Elizabeth for a walk. She loves a moonlight walk. We had some delightful ones when she was at Green Gables, but at home Elizabeth never sees moonlight except from the window. I'm beginning to be a little worried about her too. She is going on 10 now, and those two old ladies haven't the least idea what she needs, spiritually and emotionally. As long as she has good food and good clothes, they cannot imagine her needing anything more. And it will be worse with every succeeding year. What kind of a girlhood will the poor child have? Chapter 6. Jarvis Morrow walked home from the high school commencement with Anne and told her his woes. You'll have to run away with her, Jarvis. Everybody says so. As a rule, I don't approve of elopements. I said that like a teacher of 40 years' experience, thought Anne with an unseen grin, but there are exceptions to all rules. It takes two to make a bargain, Anne. I can't elope alone. Dovey is so frightened of her father, I can't get her to agree. And it wouldn't be an elopement, really. She'd just come to my sister Julia's, Mrs. Stevens, you know, some evening. I'll have the minister there and we could be married respectably enough to please everybody and go over to spend our honeymoon with Aunt Bertha in Kingsport. Simple as that. But I can't get Dovey to chance it. The poor darling has been giving in to her father's whims and crochets so long she hasn't any willpower left. You'll simply have to make her do it, Jarvis. Great Peter, you don't suppose I haven't tried, do you, Anne? I've begged till I was black in the face. When she's with me, she'll almost promise it, but the minute she's home again, she sends me word she can't. It seems odd, Anne, but the poor child is really fond of her father, and she can't bear the thought of his never forgiving her. You must tell her she has to choose between her father and you. And suppose she chooses him? I don't think there's any danger of that. You can never tell, said Jarvis gloomily, but something has to be decided soon. I can't go on like this forever. I'm crazy about Dovey. Everybody in Summerside knows that. She's like a little red rose just out of reach. I must reach her, Anne. Poetry is a very good thing in its place, but it won't get you anywhere in this instance, Jarvis, said Anne coolly. That sounds like a remark Rebecca Dew would make, but it's quite true. What you need in this affair is plain, hard common sense. Tell Dovey you're sick of shilly-shallying and that she must take you or leave you. If she doesn't care enough for you to leave her father, it's just as well for you to realise it. Jarvis groaned. You haven't been under the thumb of Franklin Westcott all your life, Anne. You haven't any realisation of what he's like. Well, I'll make a last and final effort. As you say, if Dovey really cares for me, she'll come to me, and if she doesn't, I might as well know the worst. I'm beginning to feel I've made myself rather ridiculous. If you're beginning to feel like that, thought Anne, Dovey had better watch out. Dovey herself slipped into Windy Willows a few evenings later to consult Anne. What shall I do, Anne? What can I do? Jarvis wants me to elope, practically. Father is to be in Charlottetown one night next week attending a Masonic banquet, and it would be a good chance. Aunt Maggie would never suspect. Jarvis wants me to go to Mrs. Stevens and be married there. And why don't you, Dovey? Oh, Anne, do you really think I ought to? Dovey lifted a sweet, coaxing face. Please, please make up my mind for me. I'm just distracted. Dovey's voice broke on a tearful note. Oh, Anne, you don't know Father. He just hates Jarvis. Can't imagine why, can you? How can anybody hate Jarvis? When he called on me the first time, Father forbade him the house and told him he'd set the dog on him if he ever came again, our big bull. You know they never let go once they take hold, and he'll never forgive me if I run away with Jarvis. Well, you must choose between them, Dovey. That's just what Jarvis said, wept Dovey. Oh, he was so stern. I never saw him like that before, and I can't live without him, Anne. Then live with him, my dear girl, and don't call it eloping. Just coming into Summerside and being married among his friends isn't eloping. Father will call it so, said Dovey, swallowing a sob. But I'm going to take your advice, Anne. I'm sure you wouldn't advise me to take any step that was wrong. I'll tell Jarvis to go ahead and get the license, and I'll come to his sister's the night Father is in Charlottetown. Jarvis told Anne triumphantly that Dovey had yielded at last. I'm to meet her at the end of the lane next Tuesday night. She won't have me go down to the house for fear Aunt Maggie might see me, and would just step up to Julia's me married in a brace of shakes. All my folks will be there, so it'll make the poor darling quite comfortable. Franklin Westcott said I should never get his daughter. I'll show him he was mistaken.